So kind of tell me, what is STEM and what does it stand for?
Sure. So STEM is science and technology, engineering, and math. It's an acronym that people use mostly in education to talk about the fields that move science and math forward for students.
How did STACK get started?
Sure. So STACT is an idea I've been playing around with for a little while. I used to work at the ACT test in Iowa City, and so I got introduced to a lot of different STEM concepts in terms of teaching and in terms of science standards that kids weren't necessarily meeting in school. And so knowing that there's a gap in science achievement for students, or STEM achievement for students, and took a look at also what, so when the ACT does an interest survey with kids, they also find out what sort of careers they might be interested in. And so there's a lot of kids who are interested in STEM careers but aren't necessarily meeting the benchmarks and standards that will make it easier for them to be successful in those careers. And so I thought it might be a good idea to develop a program where they could learn STEM ideas and understand them outside the classroom, so that they could start having an outside of school discussion, maybe with their peers or with their families, about STEM ideas. And so there was that part. There's also the fact that my kid has been in love with Legos since he was very small, and I've been a Lego mom for a long time. Stepped on my share of Legos, and they are all over our house. And I thought, you know what? I love Legos, and I love teaching kids. And so they just seemed like the perfect pair for me. It seemed like something that wasn't being done, something that was needed, and so that's how it got started. That's the idea.
What do you want people to know about your company?
Yeah, so I want people to know about our company that we are all about creating access for kids outside the classroom for STEM ideas, and then also just creating a conversation around STEM. I think that everyone loves Legos. It's one of the most beloved brands in the world. Everyone remembers it from their childhood, and like on the box it says, ages 6 to 100 plus. And so it seems like it's a great universal language that people can use. And using Legos, using Legos to work with science ideas as well as using one's imagination really helps kids to use their left brain and their right brain at the same time, and maybe bring out some talents that they didn't know that they had. So I want people to know that I want to start a conversation and create access for kids, and especially in rural areas. So STACT is a pop-up that can go to different schools and towns as well. And we're going to be doing that very soon, within the next month or two. We've got a couple of places that we're headed to. So that's the gist of it.
How do people find you on social media?
How do they find me? Yeah, so we are on Facebook at Stacked STEM. We're also on Twitter, and then our website is discoverstacked.org.
Why did you start your own company?
Well, so I came from a family where a lot of people have their own businesses, and in my family, they were immigrants. They immigrated to the U.S., and so they started their businesses from nothing. And I was around those businesses when I was a kid, and I worked in them in the summertime, and occasionally when I'd come visit. And so the idea of owning your own business always really interested me. I feel as though women entrepreneurs and women in business, there's a strong tradition of that in my family. And so I wanted to be part of that, and I feel like this is what I really should be doing right now.
Who inspired you to start your own company?
So I would say I have a lot of people who I really respect and admire, who told me that when I had this idea, it was more that people liked the idea and said I should take it forward. and that I was the right person to do that. I have a certified teacher. I've been a teacher or been in education or an education nonprofit or teaching for the last 20 years. And so I have that background. I also have quite an imagination, and I love creating curriculum for kids and content. And so a lot of people I talked to about it said you should start this. This is more about something that is really needed here. And so I have a fantastic advisory board made up of people that I knew when I worked at the ACT, as well as people in the Startup Sioux Falls community. I am so grateful for their support. It's been tremendous so far.
What was the biggest obstacle that you faced in starting this?
You know, I think the biggest obstacle that I faced in starting this was timing, trying to figure out what was the right time in my life to do this. Another obstacle was really just my concerns that, really just getting past my fear and saying, I'm going to do this. And a really good friend of mine, when I was asking him, what's the time to do this? When should I start doing this? He said, I find it's just best to just start doing something and see where it goes. And so I did. I was really, really surprised at the response I got within the first week in the Sioux Falls community. It's just been incredible. And so apparently that's the right thing to do sometimes, is you just start doing something.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, so we've got a number of events coming up. We've got a few stacked pop-ups, and how those work is we set them up usually for 3 hours at a specific location. So for the next month or so, 8th and Railroad buildings have been really gracious to me, and they're going to let me be in the artist space right between our wine bar and Queen City Bakery. And so info is on our website about how to get kids into that. It's $9.50 an hour, but you can stay for as long as we have space then, or you can just stay for an hour. Our curriculum changes every 2 weeks. We have a new theme. And so some of those themes are things like weird winter weather or traveling with Roald Dahl. So looking at the different vehicles and transportation that's used, like James and the Giant Peach. How would kids create something that's like a giant peach to travel in, or a glass elevator, or things like that, and how would the physics of that work? So that's kind of how that works. We're also available for group events and birthday parties, and we also do Lego Serious Play for adults and corporations. So that's who we are.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.